Hello wrestling fans, the Wrestling Wizard here, and welcome to another video. And in this video, we're going to try and make some bold predictions in regards to this current Bray Wyatt storyline. And it's safe to say it's getting juicy. I nearly went to say Usi, thanks for that, Sami Zayn. But it's intriguing, it's exciting. Every week we tune into SmackDown wondering what the latest developments are going to be with this Bray Wyatt storyline. And I know a lot of people have been critical, saying that Bray should just get into the ring and wrestle, but this is classic Bray Wyatt storyline telling 101, and it will ultimately end in a huge payoff. But before we get into the meat of the video, as always, be really appreciative if you could like this video, share this video, and even better, subscribe if you're new, and also drop down in the comments what do you think the next stages will be in this Bray Wyatt storyline. Now, of course, in a nutshell, Bray Wyatt is having psychological issues. He is in a battle with his inner demon, that demon being Uncle Howdy, the ghost of the man who sold the world, essentially Bray's darkest of thoughts. And he is in denial to a certain extent because he's trying to be the good guy, but equally he will say things like, I promise to do horrible things and not feel bad for them. Now that isn't the thing that a good dude would say. He's ignoring these psychological problems and ultimately he's trying to avoid them. At some point he's had therapy, I'm sure. We've seen these psychological reports, these examinations. On last week's episode of SmackDown, we had like this voice message from a doctor, it seems, basically saying that Bray is a harm to himself and others as well. So he's roaming around on SmackDown here. He could do anything to anyone. He could bash anyone's skull up against the wall at any moment. And I think Bray deep down knows that. And Uncle Howdy, the ghost of the man who sold the world, the darkest version of Bray, essentially, the evil side of Bray, knows that Bray's a liar. Ignoring all this because he knows he'll do it ultimately. Things will come full circle. He'll put on a mask, whatever that will be, and he'll do horrible things again. He'll get that power back and it's going to feel so good, as Uncle Howdy said. Now, in isolation, we know that Uncle Howdy is essentially the devil on Bray's shoulder. But what if, to counteract that, we get a genuinely good entity, a ghost of Bray's better thoughts, in Uncle Harper? Now we know, of course, WWE filed the trademark for the names Uncle Howdy and Uncle Harper, so surely we're going to get an incoming Uncle Harper. And I had a brainwave the other day because December the 16th is a Friday, a SmackDown, but more importantly, that was the date that Brodie Lee, aka Luke Harper, was born. That was his birthday, okay? What greater tribute than to debut a character on that episode of SmackDown? In timeline-wise, it seems to fit the storyline. And it will be so cool if we get this reveal. And maybe one of the reasons why WWE held off in including Bray Wyatt at Survivor Series War Games was because they went, look, we've got a couple of months until the Rumble here to build an intriguing storyline where we can involve this conflict between the good side in Uncle Harper and the bad side in Uncle Howdy. And then Bray, you think he's going to turn like fully to the good side, essentially. Not to the good side, but be a better person and avoid, I suppose, you could say, the temptation of putting on a mask again and doing horrible things. And then, of course, you know, ultimately the evil wins. And then, of course, Bray puts on that mask. And maybe, just maybe, we've got to wait until the Royal Rumble before we get LA Knight versus Bray Wyatt. And maybe they didn't want to rush that and have it at Survivor Series War Games, when really, let's face it, the spotlight was always going to be on the Bloodline. So I'm kind of happy Bray not being on the card for the sake of it. And also, clearly this was Bray Wyatt's decision because he has pretty much 100% creative control at the moment, working alongside, of course, Triple H. Far from what we saw with his time with Vince McMahon. So this is ultimately Bray's decision to do this. And you've got to think that they're holding off, Code Orange have been holding off with the release of the Shatter track because maybe they're going to wait for the debut of Uncle Harper. Maybe they're going to wait for December the 16th. And that's going to be when they're going to release the theme officially. There has been leaked versions online and debut Uncle Harper. But you notice one thing. As soon as Bray Wyatt started to do something physical, i.e. headbutt LA Knight, and we assume attack LA Knight under this mask, Alexa Bliss has been transitioning. The first time the logo was in the background, it didn't affect her. The second time, as we saw on this week's episode of Raw, it did. it's starting to affect her. And I very much feel that maybe this isn't going to be a revenge arc, and this is going to be a reunion with both of their darker sides. One thing Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss have in common, they've both tried to get therapy, tried to be better people, tried to get help, and tried to completely vanish the darker entity, to not being very successful with that mission ultimately down the line. And we see those two back darker, more sinister than ever. Now, dark doesn't mean heel, by the way. I'm not saying these are going to heel turn. You can still have dark versions of Bray and Alexa like from the past. What's going to happen with LA Knight? I think he's going to come out smelling the roses and all this. This is big things to be involved in a storyline alongside Bray Wyatt. So fear not, he's not getting buried or anything like that. He's going to come out strong, and who knows, he might be involved alongside Bray Wyatt. Also throw into the mix Eric Rowan. There's speculation, a lot of rumours going around that he's going to be coming back sometime soon. I'm sure he will be. I don't believe that was a coincidence that we saw him on the production truck. I really don't. And there's so many fresh dynamics, and that's not even talking about Bo Dallas as well. So there's a lot of meat left on the bone with this storyline. I think it's going to drag out a little bit longer till maybe the Royal Rumble. They protect Bray by not having him in the Rumble just to get eliminated. So I'm all up for him having a match against LA, for example. And then we move on to WrestleMania, where maybe we see that epic grand entrance from a new character. Is it going to be The Fiend? I'd be surprised if they revisited The Fiend. I wouldn't be against it, but I do think we're going to see something completely new. I think that was teased at Extreme Rules. The Firefly Funhouse, the puppets and The Fiend was closure, and this is something new moving forward from Bray. But what do you think? Do you want to see The Fiend back? Do you want to see Alexa and Bray reunited, or do you want to see them as far apart from one another as possible? Thank you so much for watching the video. As always, be really appreciative if you could like this video, share this video, and even better, subscribe if you're new.